Hey there everybody, and welcome to Deal or No Deal. Every week in Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar has new discounts, deals, and ways of making money. And as I'm doing here, I will review all these vehicles and tell you what's good and what's bad. Now starting off, as usual, let's talk about the money. And I am pretty sure there is no bonus money this week. I mean, yeah, there's some bonus money on adversary modes, like the Halloween themed things, you know, the Halloween bunker series, all that crap, but actually making double money on businesses, to at least what I'm aware, there is no way to do so. Your bunker, Acid Lab, Kosatka, all the businesses that you own and use for actual profit are not going to be making any increased profit. So yeah, that's actually incredibly lame. My suggestion is just do the Cayo Perico heist and the VIP contracts for Dr. Dre while having a couple passive businesses running in the background if you want to maximize your money. Apart from that, well, there really isn't any way because, as we can see, Rockstar's kind of screwing us this week. Thankfully, as you'll notice, there's a lot of cars discounted, like a lot. So we got some decent discounts, but there's only a couple that might actually suggest to buy. Let's start off with this week's freebies, beginning with the Everon. This is an incredibly cool truck. It reminds me of the Top Gear Polar Special vehicle. Obviously, this is based off of, I think, a Hilux, if I'm not mistaken, but a very, very cool truck to get to the podium. If you do get it, I'd highly recommend to keep it, fully upgrade it, because it's really fun at off-roading. It's got some fantastic customization. You really can't go all too wrong. For the prize ride, you have to finish top three 2 days in a row. It's a pretty lame vehicle though, it's the Windsor. I don't think there's anything special about this car. To what I'm aware, it can reach about 120, but that's it. It's not good at handling at all, and it has about negative customization. You can't put a spoiler on it, you can't do any skirts, you literally can put on like a couple liveries and that's about it. So very disappointing vehicle. I would highly recommend to not waste your time getting your hands on this vehicle, even if you're going for your weekly or daily challenges. Okay, well, we have the Panade La Course. I think this is an amazing car, and it's definitely one of the discounted vehicles I would recommend to buy. It's electric, which is pretty cool, and unlike a lot of electric vehicles, this one's actually very, very good on handling and overall capabilities in the sports category, which makes it actually a very good car just alone there. But when you add that into the fact this is also an Amani Tech vehicle, and a very good one at that, as we know the electric Amani Tech vehicles like the Obey Ominous EGT are able to take an absolute beating, then yeah, this is a really, really good vehicle. I'll have a full review on this car up later this week, maybe even later today, depending on how much I'm able to pump out. But yeah, this is a really good car. It's fantastic on handling. Unfortunately, it's not that much cheaper. It's normally at the price tag of 1.9 million. You can get it for 1.6 million at 20% off. But hey, if you can save $300,000 on any purchase you make, that's still a lot of money. So I would definitely recommend to pick up this vehicle. After the La Course, we break into the Halloween vehicles, like the Frankenstein. I always thought it should have been Frankenstrange, but I don't know. I guess Rockstar wanted to call it the Stang. It's a really cool looking vehicle, and the engine sounds epic. Don't get me wrong, but there's literally nothing good about this vehicle. It's not very fast, and I don't know, it's just not a very cool car. I mean, you'll probably buy it for Halloween and then it'll sit in the garage for the rest of the year. But what I will say is that it is a very hard vehicle to get because it's normally removed apart from Halloween. So if you don't own the car and you think it looks cool and you want to pick it up, then I definitely suggest to do so. It's pretty cheap. It's only $275,000 this week. It's normally $550,000, and even the base price tag's pretty cheap. So I definitely suggest to pick it up. It's a cool vehicle, and weirdly enough, it's actually in the sports classics category and not the muscle category, but it has some of the worst handling I've ever seen. But yeah, I'd say pick it up if you like the car. Apart from that, you definitely don't get it in terms of performance. We have another sports classics, this one being the Roosevelt Valor. I've always thought this vehicle looks very nice, very classy. It used to be one of my favorite cars just for memeing around in with my friends because I always love the way it looks. Unfortunately, that's about as good as it gets. This vehicle is not very fast. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it is the slowest sports classics in all of GTA. Its price tag is pretty cheap though at $491,000, 50% off from the normal $980,000. So, I mean, I guess if you wanted to add this to your collection, it's not the worst deal ever because it is so cheap. But still, the car's not fast, and while it does feature some decent customization, it's just nothing I would ever recommend to purchase. Its handling feels good, but that's because the car barely breaks 100 miles per hour. I don't even think it goes over 100. I think it's like 90 something. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend to purchase this car, but to each. Next up, we have the hearse. I'm not even going to bother driving it. It's normally $40,000. This week it's $20,000. Why is it discounted? Honestly, I have no clue. It's very confusing to me why Rockstar bothered discounting it. My guess is to maybe get some people's attention. You know, maybe somebody wasn't going to buy the car, but now that it's discounted, they were reminded of it, and now they're going to buy it. I don't know. I mean, buy it if you think it looks cool. There's nothing good about the vehicle. It's slow. It's a hearse. Yeah, that's about as much as I can say. So I'm not even going to bother to drive that one. Up next, we have another sports classics, being the Rat Rod. Now, this one I'm always surprised isn't a muscle car. I mean, I get why it's a sports classics, but I mean, come on. It's literally the embodiment of a muscle car. The Rat Rod is pretty cheap. It's normally $400,000. You get it for $200,000. Again, another 50% discount. It's pretty nice Rockstar's doing so many good discounts this week. My guess is because they're not doing double money, they wanted to make some decent discounts. The problem is, the vehicles being discounted aren't anything really special. But I do think the Rat Rod is a very cool car. It's not the fastest, nor is it the best on handling, but it sounds incredible. And it just looks really awesome. I always am a big fan of Rat Rod vehicles. Hot rods are so cool. So I can't really say there's anything special about the car, but hey, for only $200,000, I definitely recommend to pick it up, especially if you want to just add it to your garage and have a bit cool of a vehicle sitting there. Our first motorcycle on the list is the Zombie Bobber. There's honestly not that much cool about the Zombie Bobber. It's not that fast, nor is it really that good of a motorcycle, but it looks cool. And it is cheap. It's only $50,000 from the normal $100,000 this week. So if you wanted to get a discounted price on an already very cheap vehicle, the Zombie Bobber isn't too bad of a deal. As most motorcycles are, this vehicle features decent handling, as we can see here, but it's definitely nothing even close to something like the Body 801 or really good handling vehicles. The only really good thing I can say about the Zombie Bobber is it sounds awesome. It sounds like a Harley in real life, which is really epic. So that's the main thing I can say about the Zombie Bobber. We have the Lurcher as another discounted vehicle. Nothing crazy either. It's obviously another Halloween-themed vehicle, another hearse. It's definitely cooler than the Romero hearse, but it is quite a bit more expensive, normally $600,000. You can get it this week for $400,000. It is actually a muscle vehicle, as we can see, so you can do wheelies with the car, even though I have the wheelie bar that literally did nothing to stop us. But yeah, this is a very, very cool vehicle. You can actually see we got a little Frankenstein's monster in the back, having his arm bobbing out. So I actually think this vehicle is really cool because of the fact that you can have a dude sitting in the back of your car. It's decently mobile for what it is. I mean, it's a muscle car, so it can actually get up to an okay speed. It has okay handling. It's actually not the worst thing ever. It's still nothing great on terms of performance. But if you like the Halloween vehicle and you want to have that Halloween spirit, then yeah, I would highly recommend to pick up the Lurcher. It's actually one of the few vehicles I think is really, really cool. And finally, we are down to our two last vehicles. We have the LCC Sanctus. This is one of the coolest looking motorcycles in the game. I mean, it just looks so awesome. Unfortunately, it's very expensive at 1.9 mil, but thankfully this week you can get it for 1.2 million. So if you like the Sanctus, I would recommend to pick it up. I just think it looks awesome. It's such an awesome motorcycle due to that skull on the front, the way that the lights are the actual, eyeballs. Just such a cool vehicle and design. It's, again, not very good on handling, and you'll notice that, its handling is pretty mediocre. So this vehicle isn't anything impressive when it comes to lap time or performance, but it just looks really cool. So again, if you're going for looks and you want to get a decent discounted vehicle, then the LCC Sanctus is actually a very, very good deal for this week in Grand Theft Auto. And to finish off today's video, we have the Autarch. which is one of my favorite supers. And to finish off today's video, we have the Overflawed Autarch, which is an interesting vehicle to see thrown into the mix because there's really nothing about this car that reminds me of Halloween or even remotely anything. But you know what? I'm not going to complain. The Autarch is an absolutely amazing supercar. It is incredibly fast, and as you can see, it features some amazing handling. This vehicle is one of the top 15 handling in the supers category still, and it still is actually quite fast. So I would highly recommend to pick up this vehicle, especially because it's normally 2 million, but this week it's only 1.2. That's a 40% discount, and a pretty decent one at that. So yeah, I actually think this is a super fun car, and an incredibly fun one to drive at that. Overall, this is not a fantastic week for Grand Theft Auto Online. There's not a lot that's really special. I mean, yeah, there are some decent discounts on the Halloween vehicles. If you don't have them, pick them up. But apart from that, if you're trying to make some extra money, you're not going to be able to, really. There is no extra money, and that's what I'm really disappointed about, because as fellow money grinders, yeah, my job is to try and find some extra ways to cram in $1 here or there, and unfortunately, we can't really do that this week. But either way, I still think that is not the worst week ever, because we have a lot of discounted vehicles that are also Halloween themed. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Please consider smashing that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!